Team USA, we are ready to roll.
Extraordinary moments.
Beautiful night for some football. The biggest spectacle in golf.
Skying to the rim.
A lot of stars for you on Sunday Night Football.
NBC Sports, celebrating its 20th season of Sunday Night Football, welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
The following programming is EI, educational and informative.
Welcome to Science Now.
Hi, everybody.
Let's start things off with a quick look at 4 awesome discoveries.
Check them out.
It's a recipe for disaster. Sort of. Scientists are cooking up 10-gallon batches of molten rock and injecting them with water. Why? Because in nature, water can make volcanic activity more dangerous. Initial results of this long-term study show lava-water interactions can generate explosions when there is at least a foot of molten rock above the mixing point. In general, more brilliant reactions occur when there is lava in tall containers and water rushes in. This study could improve risk assessments for volcanoes near ice, lakes, oceans, and underground water sources.
Plant biologists have engineered rice plants that produce seeds that grow into clones of the parent. The plants reproduce asexually, yielding clonal seeds with all of the parent's desirable traits: drought resistance, heat tolerance, whatever. And those traits will remain the same generation after generation. The system's not perfected yet, but there's even potential for other crops. So poor farmers in developing countries would only need to buy hybrid seeds one time, and they'd be set year after year. A real growth opportunity for world agriculture.
As Puerto Rico struggles to rebuild after Hurricane Maria, new research confirms a less obvious but far-reaching impact on its watersheds and forests. Sensors show a sustained, dramatic increase in the amount of nitrate in streams flowing from the mountains to the sea. Nitrate is essential for plant growth, but in large quantities, it can harm coastal ecosystems. Scientists say this change will play a role in which trees grow back first, and the nitrate overload could fuel algal blooms. Worst case, coastal dead zones.
Here's a high-tech way to stay warm without turning up the thermostat. Researchers have engineered personal heat patches meant to be sewn into clothes. The team found a cost-effective way to make the patches thin and durable by using intense pulses of light to fuse tiny silver wires with polyester. They can be powered by coin batteries, and the heating performance is nearly 70% higher than similar patches. Now that's hot.
And there you go, 4 awesome discoveries.
Now, here comes some more.
Stand aside. These so-called leaf-footed insects are getting ready to rumble. And for entomologist Christine Miller, that means it's time to get to work.
It's more like someone doing mixed martial arts in that they fight in so many different ways. And so we can study the shape of their weapons and the function of their weapons and how they're related to the ways in which the bugs fight.
With support from the National Science Foundation, Miller and her team at the University of Florida study animal weapons as a key to understanding their behavior, diversity, and evolution.
And it's a great group of insects. Some of them are huge, some of them are tiny. They just seem to have such a diversity of shapes, body shapes, that we can use them to do all sorts of different experiments and also behavioral observations that they're just a really powerful way to better understand science.
They collect a lot of specimens at this campus organic garden.
This is a juvenile, and it hasn't developed big fighting legs yet. When we think as humans about weaponry, we often think about lethal weaponry, weapons designed to kill. Animal weapons are used to get that opponent away, to succeed in getting a territory, maybe to get access to females for potential matings. They rarely fight to the death.
And like human wrestlers, insects, usually males, have some signature moves. The short squeeze, the leg wrap, the pounce and wrap. And it's all to get the girl.
Yeah, I've never seen two males fighting this hard for one female.
But it's not always the big bug on campus that's a hit with the ladies. Miller says some females also factor in complex odors when choosing a mate. Experiments like this show a boy bug has to do more than fight to impress a female. A tasty dinner goes a long way too.
The males release olfactory cues to reel in the ladies, and the cactus that they live on also emits odors. So the female has a choice between a high-quality male on a low-quality cactus pad or a low-quality male on a high-quality cactus pad.
See, it's a one-legged male, and it was actually aiming that missing leg towards the other one.
Of course, when you fight, sooner or later, you're going to lose. Miller says that's why these insects have evolved something called autotomy.
If they get in a tricky situation and something grabs the leg, like a bird, or they just get trapped, they could actually do a little like twist, shake sort of thing, and they actually sever their leg off at a breakage plane.
Miller says studying insect behaviors will help us understand everything from pest management to how habitat and climate change impacts a range of animal populations.
A lot of people don't think about insect conservation, but if we lose species of insects, we could have ecosystems fall apart to some extent and be adversely affected.
A little knowledge is a powerful weapon.
New fast MRI and CT scanning techniques allow researchers to study live wrist bones in motion for the first time. The National Science Foundation funded work could potentially help people suffering from wrist pain and disorders like osteoarthritis and carpal tunnel syndrome. Brent Foster and his team at UC Davis scanned both wrists of 18 individuals, 9 men and 9 women of varying ages. Using innovative MRI techniques, which allowed 3D views of wrists in motion, the team had individuals move their wrists in 5 ways while being scanned to track wrist bone and joint movement. By scanning these movements, the team was able to explain over 91% of wrist variations across individuals. The researchers were surprised to find that wrist motion differed by gender. The team looks forward to continuing its efforts to help manage wrist disorders.
The word polymer literally means many parts. But a polymer isn't a specific thing. It's anything, usually a molecule or material, made of smaller repeating bits. Monomers. So, polymers are large molecules formed by linking together smaller repeating units called monomers. Many people think of plastics when they hear the word polymer, but polymers can be synthetic or natural. DNA, proteins that make up our hair and muscles, and cellulose, the molecule that gives plants their sturdy structure, are all natural examples of polymers. Like all molecules, polymers can have different shapes and sizes, so the properties of a polymeric material will depend on which atoms and molecules it contains and how they're connected. Some polymers are rigid and strong, while others are flexible. And researchers are constantly looking for new ways to create even better polymers with useful properties. Some scientists study spiders for clues because their silk polymers are famously strong yet flexible. Others are working on ways to control polymer assembly. This will allow them to create new kinds of materials that are easier to recycle, can fix themselves after they're damaged, or even respond when exposed to light or electricity. From muscle fibers to plastics, polymers are useful materials that we rely on every day. Understanding how to build them from different types of monomers will allow researchers to design and build a more flexible future, bit by bit.
We'll be right back with more Science Now after this brief break.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Bo knows baseball. Bo knows football. Bo knows basketball, too. Bo knows tennis?
Bo knows running.
No.
Bo knows cycling.
Bo knows weight. Bo, you don't know diddly.
Welcome back to iShine Connect.
Welcome back.
It's not the circus or the county fair, but one day these polymer fibers may be a key component in creating life-saving new medical technologies.
I think my idea is that we can...
With support from the National Science Foundation, engineers Hak Jun Sung and Leon Bellin and their team at Vanderbilt University are working to regrow body tissue that has been damaged by trauma or disease.
It can be heart, or it can be blood vessel, can be brain, or some other part of the body.
In the long run, you don't want there to be any noticeable difference between the host body and the implanted tissues.
Part of the challenge is developing an artificial equivalent of tissue itself. They call it a scaffold. They're using hydrogels, which look and feel a lot like gelatin.
The scaffold is sort of the environment in which the cells live. You can think about it as sort of like a house for the cells.
The cells they put into the scaffold ideally are harvested from the patient's own body and will grow into healthy replacement tissue.
We use a material as a basic template, like mimicking tissue structures, and we add some biological component. It can be stem cell or other adult cells or biological molecules.
Now, here's where the cotton candy machine comes in.
So there's a big push to try and figure out how do you build capillaries into engineered tissue.
Regenerating tissue needs blood to survive. In living systems, that's done by capillaries, branching networks of tiny blood vessels, each 10 times thinner than a human hair.
Cells want to be roughly a hair's thickness or less distance from a blood vessel, from a capillary. And if they're too far from a capillary, then they don't get oxygen and nutrients quickly enough to survive, and they'll die. The size of the fibers that are produced by a cotton candy machine are fairly close, if not spot on, when compared to the size of capillaries.
They pour hydrogel over the fibers. After it hardens in an incubator, they dissolve the fibers away, leaving a network of tiny channels behind, just like capillaries.
So the cotton candy machine just ended up making fibers that happen to have the right size and the right sort of architecture to mimic a capillary bed.
Bellin says they still have lots to work out before this artificial tissue is ready for use in patients. But they have high expectations that the field of regenerative medicine will eventually prove to be a game changer.
We're really putting together a toolbox for people to eventually be able to build tissues and organs. You know, in the long run, someone needs a new organ, we'll just build it for them.
Engineering artificial tissue designed to regenerate the real thing. Any way you spin that, it's a winner.
We'll be right back with more Science Now after this brief break.
We'll be right back after this short break.
If you are looking for a community that prays together and takes you deeper into God's Word, Better Together was created just for you. We are bringing the love and the hope and the grace of the gospel to more women around the world.
I'm about to bring out my praise hanky because we got to finish that story. Testify!
Come on! God can birth something on the inside of you that you just never dreamed possible.
And we will literally see more souls saved when we are who we are and do what God has called us to do.
I know Better Together is so much bigger than a slogan.
It's about all of us. We get to be a part of a greater story.
We help each other remember His unconditional love, His mercy that is new every morning, and His amazing grace.
We have to know that our God will work all things together for our good. And I think it all comes down to the cross. If that's what Jesus did, then we can believe for the impossible.
Welcome back to iShine Connect.
Welcome back.
The commercial and recreational fishing industries provide 1.8 million jobs in the U.S. and generate over $255 billion per year. We are the world's second largest consumer of seafood, consuming 6.3 billion pounds annually. But productive fish species are in decline and could affect what's for dinner. Supported by NSF, researchers at Rutgers University are studying how warming oceans are impacting marine predator and prey interactions. While previous research focused on the impact of climate change on individual species, this new study took into account the interaction between species within the food chain. This impact plays a role on where fish live, how abundant they are, and will affect the location of future fishing grounds where commercial companies trawl to put seafood on the menu. The study presents a mixed picture of ocean health as the warming oceans will continue to present challenges for the marine ecosystem, which will ultimately impact American jobs and a major food source.
Thanks to fluorescent dyes, technology has given us crystal clear television screens, handheld video games with realistic graphics, and smartphones with incredibly vivid displays. But what if this technology could be improved to enhance the user's experience even more? What would happen if the liquid fluorescent dyes were converted into an even brighter form? Supported in part by NSF, researchers at Indiana University partnered with a team from the University of Copenhagen to create novel materials called SMILES, small molecule ionic isolation lattices, which are believed to be the brightest fluorescent materials ever made. SMILES are a totally new foundation or base material that offer remarkable potential for advanced, more efficient solar panels, more accurate solid-state lasers, precise medical imaging, and dynamic 3D displays. The source of SMILES' powerful, unprecedented illumination is a molecular glue, causing the molecules in the fluid fluorescent dyes to gather into tightly packed solids, making them glow even brighter.
Over 6 million Americans aged 65 and older live with Alzheimer's. This debilitating disease robs loved ones of their ability to remember everything from routine daily tasks to identifying familiar faces. Currently, there is no cure, and diagnoses are both time-consuming and costly, involving lengthy in-person exams, transcription, review, and analysis of every response detail. But NSF-supported researchers at Boston University have developed a new tool harnessing artificial intelligence to automate this process and could provide earlier detection of Alzheimer's. Using automated online speech recognition tools based on a machine learning technique called natural language processing, the team's model transcribes interviews and encodes them into numbers that a final model uses to determine an individual's cognitive impairment. The team says their program accurately distinguishes healthy individuals and those with dementia and detects differences between mild cognitive impairment and dementia.
So I think a significant benefit is that we can screen remotely and we can screen at scale. Another benefit is that it may be helpful in terms of diagnosing early stages of the disease.
The tool could aid clinicians in diagnosing cognitive impairment using audio recordings, including those from virtual or telehealth appointments, allowing for more timely diagnostics, ultimately improving the quality of life for older individuals.
We'll be right back with more Science Now after this brief break.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Have you or a loved one been in a piano-related accident? Whether you've had your fingers slammed in a piano, been crushed by a falling piano, or your teeth are now piano keys, these scales of justice are here to fight for you.
There's no need to face the music alone. Avoid slapstick injuries and watch Tune In With Me.
With me, Toonie the Tuna.
And me, Bill, weekday mornings at 7, 6 Central on MeTV.
This broadcast is copyrighted by NFL Productions for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this broadcast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of NFL Productions is prohibited.
Welcome back to iShine Connect.
Welcome back.
Biogeochemist Charlie Driscoll and forest ecologist Lindsay Rustad are taking a little hike through the woods, surveying their handiwork, you might say.
This quadrant over here, this is a big litter decomposition.
With support from the National Science Foundation, they're part of a team of researchers here at the Hubbard Brook Experimental Forest in New Hampshire that wants to know more about the impact of ice storms on forests like this. Easier said than done, since such storms are so hard to predict.
Wow. Lindsay, look at that.
So they set out to make one.
And I don't think it's ever been done before. How do we quantify the level of icing? Really, the accumulation of ice is really critical in terms of the overall damage. We wanted to be able to be very quantitative.
We had pumps down in the Hubbard Brook that pumped water from the brook through a series of hoses. We had 2 of these vehicles going along either side of our experimental plots, spraying water 100 feet into the air, came down as a fine mist. It was freezing conditions and it froze on contact.
So these ornaments are up there and they're getting ice as well as the branches?
They set up 10 plots, each about the size of a basketball court. Some got no ice, some got 1/4 of an inch, which is pretty light. Some 1/2 an inch, the equivalent of a major storm. And some got 3/4 of an inch, considered extreme. Now they're into a multi-year effort to monitor how the forest is responding.
So what happens when we have an ice storm? It's a catastrophic event. It opens up the canopy. There are some trees that are able to recover from this. There's some trees that are not able to recover from this. This is an opportunity for the forest to rebuild itself.
On this day, they were measuring nutrient levels in the water from the soil.
When you damage the canopy, those trees are not taking up as much nitrogen and carbon and calcium. And if they're not taking it up out of the soil, that means it's in the soil and it can be leached into our streams and our lakes.
They also gather up dead twigs and branches that fall from the treetops, carefully weighing how much detritus is coming down from the damaged canopy. And they measure the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases generated by soil microbes and plants' root systems released from the forest floor.
So if you have a catastrophic disturbance like an ice storm and you change the carbon cycling, and if you tweak that soil respiration even just a little bit, because it's such a big number, it can have a significant impact.
The goal is to quantify every bit of science data they possibly can about how this ecosystem is changing in the aftermath of the experiment. The trees, the soil, the water, even behavior of birds and insects.
So we're doing things like measuring the temperature of the air, the temperature of the soil, the moisture of the soil, so a cascade of physical impacts.
Driscoll says as our climate changes, we can expect more catastrophic weather events. Not just ice storms, but hurricanes, floods, and drought, too.
And As a society, we're going to have to deal with them at all levels and all types. And so I think the more we know about them, we are better prepared to understand their effects, to respond to them. It's going to be in our best interest in the future.
Simulating an ice storm to be better prepared when the real thing strikes. That's way cool.
Well, that's our show for today.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
NBC Sports, celebrating its 20th season of Sunday Night Football. Thank you for watching this presentation of the National Football League.
This program has been produced by the Baseball Network in association with NBC Sports.